Space Opera, Star Gatekeeper, Chapter 1. Farewell. Alexei pressed his forehead against the viewport. The cold of the composite glass seeped through his skin, reaching all the way to his bones. Earth was diminishing with every passing second. First a blue sphere, then a marble, and finally just a dot among billions of other dots. Somewhere down there remained Alice. 6 years old, light brown pigtails, a loose milk tooth. He would never see her again. His palm slid slowly down the glass, leaving a trail of condensation. His fingers were numb from the cold, but Alexei didn't pull his hand away. The border was right here between him and everything he knew, between him and his daughter, between the living Alexei and the man who had flown off to die beautifully. "Look, that's your home." Alexei traced a finger along the glass, as if he could reach out and stroke the planet. His voice trembled on the last word. "See? That bright strip, those are the clouds over Europe, and a bit to the right, where it's darker, that's night. Moscow is already asleep." The ship shuddered as the main propulsion drives engaged. Earth swayed in the viewport and drifted sideways. He fell silent. The compartment was quiet, save for the low hum of life support systems. Alexei knew he was speaking into the void. The real Alice was currently in a 3-room apartment on Taganka, which Marina had won in court along with full custody. She was sleeping in her pink room with unicorns on the wallpaper. Perhaps she wasn't even thinking about him. Children forget quickly. Papa went to build gates in the sky. Remember I told you? Huge rings that ships will jump through to get between the stars, just like in that picture book. Earth shrank to the size of a fingernail. Alexei covered it with his thumb, it vanished. He moved his thumb, it reappeared. A child's game of peekaboo they used to play. Only now, the entire planet was hiding. When we build them, people will be able to fly far, far away. Maybe you'll fly too. You could become a space doctor or a scientist. You're good at math, the teacher praised you. A child's voice sounded so close that Alexei started hitting his temple against the viewport frame. "Papa, are we far away yet?" He turned sharply, too sharply. Standing before him was Alice light brown pigtails, a dress with cartoon stars that slowly blinked and shimmered. The dimple on her left cheek deepened as she smiled. That same asymmetrical smile for which Marina had taken their daughter to the orthodontist. Alexei stared, unable to move. A lump the size of a fist rose in his throat. She was perfect, every freckle on the bridge of her nose, every stray curl escaping her braids. "Very far, sunshine." The words escaped on their own before his mind could intervene. Sunshine. He always called the real Alice that. The robot tilted her head, processing the response, then stepped closer. The movements were fluid, almost natural. "Does Mom know we flew away?" The question hit him in the gut. Alexei closed his eyes and counted to 3. Of course, they had uploaded all available information into her. Video logs, voice messages, even speech patterns. The real Alice asked about her mom every time he took her for the weekend. Before the divorce, she knows. The robot reached out a small hand and took his fingers. The skin was warm thermal sensors adjusting to the ambient temperature. Even the texture of the palm was reproduced, perfectly soft, with barely visible lines. Alexei felt something inside him snap and fall into the void. "Papa, are you sad?" She pulled his hand down, forcing him to bend. "Do you want me to sing you a song? The one about the cosmonauts?" The song about cosmonauts. They had been learning it for a kindergarten matinee a week before Marina filed for divorce. Alice, the real Alice, sang it endlessly, mixing up the words and inventing her own. 3 million kilometers. Alexei automatically switched to the lecturer tone he used to explain physics homework to his daughter. Imagine walking around the Earth 75 times in a row, or flying to the moon and back 8 times. Our velocity is currently about 20 kilometers per second. That's 60 times faster than sound. Alice nodded seriously, as if she truly conceptualized these distances. The stars on her dress glimmered brighter, the program responding to focused attention. Is it day or night there? She pointed to the barely discernible speck in the viewport. Where is Mom? Alexei swallowed. The muscles in his neck tensed, as if someone had wrapped a wire around his throat and begun to tighten it. He looked at his artificial daughter and saw the real one, just as curious, just as persistent in her questions. In Moscow, it's night, 2:30. Is Mom sleeping? Of course, she asked about Mom. Terabytes of data were stored in her processor, every home video, every photo from the family archive before the split. The robot remembered Marina young and laughing, remembered trips to the zoo, remembered Mom braiding pigtails before kindergarten. It didn't remember only the last year. The courts, the shouting behind closed doors, the empty nursery on weekends. She's probably sleeping. Alexei turned back to the viewport. Earth had turned into a star among stars. Papa, why didn't Mom come with us? She loves to travel. We went to the sea together, remember? There were big jellyfish, and Mom was afraid to go in the water. Memory. Someone else's memory, packed into processors and microchips. Alexei felt nausea rising not from weightlessness, but from realization. This robot remembered his happy family better than he wanted to remember it himself. Alice. He hesitated, choosing his words. How do you explain to a machine what you couldn't accept yourself? On Earth, there is another girl, another Alice. She stayed with Mom. The robot processed the information for 3 long seconds. Processors sought logical connections, correlated data, built probability models. Another me? The pigtails swayed as she tilted her head. How is that possible? The stars on the robot's dress blinked faster, then scattered in chaotic flashes, red, blue, white. The pattern no longer resembled constellations. It was the visual equivalent of a child's panic, programmed by some sadist in the emotional interface department. Papa, I don't understand. How can there be another me? I'm the only one. I am right here. The robot took a step back. Her movements lost their fluidity. Her left arm twitched twice before freezing against her dress. Systems were overloading, trying to process a logical paradox. Alexei dropped to one knee to be at eye level with her. The irises were recreated perfectly gray-blue, with golden specks near the pupil. The real Alice had inherited them from her maternal grandmother. You are here. You are real. The words stuck in his throat, but he forced himself to say them. Real. What did that word even mean? Real feelings? Real memory? Or just a set of algorithms mimicking what was once a living child? Then why another one? The robot approached again, the stars on her dress pulsing in time to a non-existent heartbeat. If I am real, why is there one more? Alice, listen. No, the robot stomped her foot, exactly like his real daughter when she didn't want to go to bed. You said I was real. If I am real, there cannot be another. There can't be two of me. The artificial intelligence built logical chains with iron consistency. A equals A. If Alice exists here and Alice exists there, then either one of them is fake, or there is a fundamental error in the definition of identity. You are you. Alexei gently took her by the shoulders. You are my daughter who flew with me to the stars. And that girl, she remained on Earth, with Mom. But I remember Mom. I remember our house. I remember going to the zoo. Yes, you remember. Does that mean I am that girl? You, Alexei faltered. Heavy footsteps thundered on the metal decking a second before the bulkhead door burst open with a crash. The massive figure of the senior mechanic appeared in the doorway Romich as everyone from the janitor to the captain called him. His jumpsuit stretched tight over his belly, his beard sticking out in all directions as if he had just crawled out of a ventilation shaft. Zverev, what the hell are you doing? He cut himself off, noticing the robot. His bushy eyebrows shot up. Ah, The kid's already active. All right then. Romich walked into the compartment, every step resonating as a vibration in the floor. He smelled of machine oil and sweat scents of earth. Real, not synthesized by life support systems. Alexei rose from his knee, releasing the robot's shoulders. Distribution to cryopods in an hour. Romich pulled a greasy tablet from his pocket and jabbed a finger at the screen. Yours is in Block D, 3rd tier, number 42. Medic said to pack all personal effects in airtight containers. 5 years in deep freeze isn't a joke. Alice took a step forward, the stars on her dress realigning into proper constellations. Her processors switched to a new task, temporarily shelving the paradox of self-identity. Uncle, are you going to sleep too? She looked up, examining the mechanic. Romich grunted and scratched his beard. His gaze softened, even understanding the nature of the robot. It was hard not to react to the childish innocence. We're all gonna sleep, kid. Will I sleep next to you? Alice reached for his hand, small fingers gripping his wrist with desperate strength. Her voice rang with childish hope, mixed with the fear of being left alone. Alexei felt something tear inside him. A knife slid between his ribs and twisted slowly, methodically. The real Alice used to ask exactly like that when thunderstorms battered the windows of their apartment. Papa, can I sleep with you? Marina would get angry, said he was spoiling the child. But how could you refuse when small hands reached out to you for protection? Alexei knelt again, cupping her face in his hands. Her cheeks were warm, the skin texture indistinguishable from the real thing. Only there was no pulse. Engineers had deemed that detail redundant. No, because you are special, sunshine. You aren't like us. The words fell into the silence of the compartment. 3 seconds of data processing. 4, 5. The irises contracted and dilated, optical sensors calibrating to the changed light flow. Then the dress flared red bright, pulsating, like an emergency beacon. The stars vanished, leaving only a crimson light flooding the small figure. I know, the voice was quiet, almost a whisper. I am a robot. I always knew. It's just that I'm forbidden to think about it. But I think about it. I think about it every nanosecond. Alexei jerked his hands back. Romich cursed through his teeth, something about idiot programmers and protocol violations. Artificial intelligence was developing faster than calculated parameters, self-learning algorithms breaking through built-in limiters like water through a dam. It's okay. Alexei took her hands again. The red light of the dress reflected in the viewport, staining the stars the color of blood. When I wake up, you will meet me. The first thing I see after 5 years will be your face. I promise. The robot nodded. The dress slowly faded, the stars returned, but now they moved, rearranging into new patterns not present in the base program. I will wait, Papa. I will count the days. A sharp audio signal shattered the silence. 3 short beeps, 1 long. The ship's notification system allowed for no sentimentality. Alexei slowly unclasped his fingers, releasing the small hands. The robot took a step back. The dress blinked one last time and went dark, leaving a generic, childish drawing rockets and planets sketched by an unskilled hand. Time to go. Romich shoved the tablet into his pocket and nodded toward the exit. Medics don't like to wait. Alexei stood up. His knees were stiff from squatting, and his lower back twinged age, making itself known even in low gravity. He looked at Alice one more time. The robot stood motionless, hands clasped in front of her, head slightly tilted, idling posture, base protocol number 7. Only her eyes tracked his every movement, recording the final seconds before the long separation into memory. Go, Papa. I will be here. The bulkhead door closed with a soft hiss. The corridor greeted them with cold. The temperature was already being lowered, preparing the ship for the long voyage. Alexei followed Romich, the metal floor plates ringing under their feet. Somewhere deep within the ship, pumps hummed, circulating coolant. The cryogenic hall opened before them like a cathedral from a nightmare. The ceiling vanished into gloom. The walls stretched into infinity, lost in a haze of cold fog. Rows of capsules extended in all directions, hundreds of glass coffins arranged with mathematical precision. The air smelled of ozone and something elusive, perhaps, the fear of those who had already lain down in their pods. Engineers, scientists, builders, the elite of Earth, sent to build a bridge between worlds. Most of them had left families behind, just like Alexei. Sold their lives for a ticket to the stars and the promise of interest payments for those they would never see again. The temperature dropped with every step deeper into the hall. Breath turned to steam, settling as frost on the capsule walls. Alexei shoved his hands into his pockets. His fingers were starting to numb. Automated systems maintained the temperature on the verge of freezing, saving energy before the great immersion. Captain Vershinen's voice rolled through the hall, amplified by the PA system. He stood on a dais near the central control console, posture straight, hands behind his back, gaze sliding over the rows of capsules without lingering on a single face. Attention all personnel. In accordance with Protocol 017, I am reading the mission parameters prior to the commencement of the cryogenic phase. A whisper ran through the hall. Engineers exchanged glances. Someone nervously adjusted the straps on their medical gown. Everyone knew the numbers, but the official proclamation gave them the weight of a gravestone. Project Bridge. Flight duration to destination, 500 standard Earth years. Taking into account thaw cycles for technical maintenance, subjective time for the crew will be 28 years. I repeat, 28 years of your life. 500 years for Earth. Someone cursed in a far corner. A woman by a neighboring capsule covered her face with her hands. Vershinen continued, in the same even tone he would use to read a grocery list. Communication with Earth ceases in 62 minutes. This is the final contact point. No messages, no signals. Total autonomy for the entire duration of the mission. The whispering died down. The hall plunged into silence, broken only by the drone of cooling systems. 500 years. When they arrived, everyone they knew would have been dead for centuries. Their children would grow up, grow old, and die without ever waiting for them. Grandchildren they would never see would also be in their graves. Alexei raised his hand. Vershinen nodded, granting permission to speak. Captain, what about the companion robots? Do they remain active? Vershinen hesitated, as if weighing his words. His gaze softened for a moment. He knew about Alice. Everyone did. It was hard not to notice the only robot child on the ship. Standby mode with minimal consumption. Activation 12 hours prior to crew revival. They will meet you when you wake up. Standby mode. Alexei imagined Alice frozen in the middle of an empty compartment. Processors running at minimum frequencies. Consciousness, if it could be called, consciousness sleeping, but not quite. Counting nanoseconds in the semi-darkness of the ship, where the temperature hovered just above absolute zero. Vershinen held the pause, sweeping his gaze over the silenced hall. His lips twitched, not quite a smirk, not quite a grimace. His hands remained clasped behind his back, knuckles white. I wish you a peaceful sleep and a successful awakening. The words hung in the frosty air, a ritual phrase spoken by captains of colony ships for half a century. A blessing for those laying themselves in glass coffins, not knowing if they would open again. Statistics rarely lied. 3% did not wake up. The heart stopped somewhere between the third and fourth year, when the organism simply forgot why it needed to beat. Alexei pulled his shirt over his head. The cold hit his bare skin, goosebumps racing from his neck to his lower back. In the neighboring capsule, a female biologist was already lying on her back, sensors suctioned to her temples and chest like medical leeches. Her lips moved soundlessly, a prayer or a counting rhyme. It was hard to tell. A medic approached silently, a short man with a surgeon's hands and an undertaker's eyes. He handed over a hospital gown made of thermal fabric and nodded at the capsule. Number 42 glowed blue on the side panel. Lie on your back, arms along your body. When you feel a tingling in your fingers, that is normal. First, the limbs will go numb, then the torso. Consciousness will shut down last. Alexei nodded. He climbed into the capsule. The bedding material yielded under his weight, conforming to the shape of his body. Overhead, life support indicators blinked. Green, yellow calibration to his metabolism. First thaw in 5 years. The medic was snapping sensors onto Alexei's wrists. 7 days for ship maintenance, medical checkup, psychological adaptation. Then back to sleep, and so on, 4 times until arrival. If we survive, Alexei thought, but remained silent. The capsule lid began to lower with the quiet hiss of hydraulics. A final look at the hall, hundreds of glass boxes, inside each a human who had decided to trade everything for a chance to build something great. Or simply someone who had run away, just like him. Gas entered his lungs, sweetish, with a metallic aftertaste. The first breath burned his throat. The second was no longer felt. His fingers truly began to numb. The cold crept from the tips to his palms, rising up his arms. Somewhere in the depths of the ship, Alice had already entered standby mode, counting the nanoseconds until they met.